Well, this is Betting Weekly Extra Time, Europa League and Europa Conference League edition. You're with Dan Roebuck and returning RJ, Steve Wyss and Will White. Second legs of semi-finals for both competitions to get some selections on. Steve, very good day to you. Futures, Leverkusen minus 225 now, very short price favourites. Atalanta plus 300 with Marseille 10-1 and Roma 33s. Leverkusen winners in the first leg. Away at Roma, that may well have killed that tie. And your Marseille with a 1-1 draw with Atalanta. Thoughts on futures as it looks?
Hello, Dan and RJ and Will. I think this is now when I was just looking at the outrights that we've got on the UEFA shows this year, and it gets real now, doesn't it? Will's got two massive prices on Leverkusen, who they look in a very good position, and Atalanta are very favourable as well. So, the whole profit and loss card for, not just this Europa show, but the whole sort of BetRivers that because we win team of the year could very much rest on these second legs. I don't know. It's exciting though, isn't it? As well, it's very exciting. It's a great team we've got here this year, and I'm kind of proud of quite a lot of the boys. We've still got a lot of really strong outright tickets alive on all shows. So. Yeah, what did I make of the first legs? I've got to be honest, I didn't actually see a single minute of Roma Leverkusen.
Professionalism.
Live.
That's what I like about you.
Not live. I just watched the highlights. I'm blaming UEFA for that, by the way. Totally blaming UEFA for the scheduling for that. And Marseille, Atalanta. I was quite proud of my Marseille team. I thought they played quite well on the night. Played better than I thought they would. And maybe should have won it even. So I don't know how it went under. But... I think that they had to win the tie, I think, to have a chance of progressing to Dublin. But we'll come to that soon.
RJ, I mean, Leverkusen and Atalanta probably going to qualify. The futures market is suggesting all but that, isn't it?
Yeah. And, Leverkusen continuing their form with 48 consecutive matches without a loss. Pretty spot on. It's tough to argue what the numbers are here. Is there much value? No. But it's it looks like Leverkusen's competition to take at this point.
And how short they're going to get when they make the final, do we think? I mean, Atalanta look like they're going to make it with them. How would you price that? Leverkusen been so good this season. Atalanta, how much of a test is that going to be? Do you think if it is the final? It probably will be.
I thought Roma would be a test, hence why we had a 1 unit hedge on them to go through. I would think Atalanta would be a test as well, maybe priced to 100% minus 200 plus 200 kind of range. Hopefully we get both finalists. But I think that's probably the deserved and rightful matchup in the final, and I'm just glad that we got on them early.
Very early for Leverkusen. Shout out to Will for that one. And Atalanta, of course, as we went into the knockout stages. Let's get some thoughts on the individual second leg semi-finals, shall we? Atalanta against Marseille, 3 p.m. Thursday Eastern. Atalanta minus 148, Marseille plus 410. Steve, did we have 2 units on overs in the south of France? Is that how it worked out last week?
Yeah, and it was 1-1 after 20 minutes. It was a really unfortunate loss. There was numerous chances to get the over in Aubameyang's gilt-edged chance before half-time especially. And, the pattern, the way the game went, I think it was completely the right read from myself and Will. Sometimes good bets lose. I said, didn't I, on the last show, the amount of time most of my losing bets are unlucky. And that was one of them.
It's all apart from that one, that PowerOak one.
PowerOak is very unlucky.
Deserving losing bet you've ever had, isn't it, Steve?
That was one of the few exceptions. There might have been actually 1 or 2 added at the weekend. I cursed myself, didn't I? But let's just go back to this game. And really, Atalanta, I think, have Marseille where they want them. They've got to draw away from home. Atalanta are now at home. All they have to do is win inside 90 minutes and they qualify. Even if it went to extra time, penalties, they're going to have the home crowd behind them. The ball is in Atalanta's court now. Marseille don't have a great away record in Europe. And that is why Atalanta are minus 137 favourites to win inside 90 minutes.
In the WhatsApp group last Thursday, Will said, if this Marseille game finishes under ... Steve said Marseille play surprisingly well. This would be a harsh under. And RJ said it's coming. RJ never came. You promised. You didn't deliver. Your thoughts on this one before we get Will's reasoning about why potentially he could go a 2U for this one along with Steve. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, this one last week was tough. I felt a little guilty. I didn't deliver. I thought that third goal was coming. Now, I also felt a little guilty. I was on both teams to score, which hit quite early.
Yes, you were. Yes.
Which was great. But then when the over didn't come through for the team, I felt quite disappointed, to be fair. So, it's another match that I think could and should go over. I think Atalanta, we'll have this in the bag. I really do. Marseille do not travel well at all, domestically, or in international competition here. So I'd be leaning somewhere along the lines of Atalanta minus 0.75 on the Asian line market. And then, I think it's coming this time. I think we'll see 3+ goals here in this second leg.
Will, you've not put a play on this, but it might become a play. What's the thought process here? You've said maybe over 2.5, depends on the price. You're not happy with the current odds. Talk us through your reasoning and what price do you want?
Yeah, I was really confident in the over in the first leg, along with Steve. And this is before the match started, but there was incessant money for the under. So the sharps out there were definitely on the under, and it went all the way to 2.25 pre-match. So I had another unit on the over 2.25, and after 20 minutes at 1-1, I thought, there was no chance that we would end up losing. And famous last words, it ended 1-1, and that is quite a dangerous scoreline in these knockout ties. 1-1 just seems to be potentially a scoreline. Don't forget the Asian handicap on this game was also draw no bet. So a draw could have suited both teams, even though we all agreed Marseille needed to win the first leg to have a chance of going through. I think money will come for the under again here. Just the sheer weight of the money from that first leg on the under. If you look at the XG and the underlying stats on the first leg, there wasn't that much over 2 expected goals in total. So I can see, given minus 125 price, I can see money coming from the under. When would I get interested in the over? Well, I keep changing my mind on this. Because of the game state, it does need an early goal to kind of set it alight. I'd be concerned that this is 1-1 at half time, and then you're looking at an over-under of 1.25, 1.5. So I don't know is the answer. I don't think it's going to go all the way to 2.25, but if it did, I'd definitely have to back the over there. Maybe wait in running and see if you can get an over 2 line after kind of 20 minutes or so. I think that would probably be my suggestion.
Okay, I can just imagine all the syndicates and all the sharp money just basically reinvesting all the money they won last week, like I might do. It doesn't happen, does it? Leverkusen versus Roma.
Well, hold on, Dan. Hold on. Before I didn't actually mention I do have an official pick on the over again.
I thought you mentioned it. Sorry, Steve.
I don't think I did. No, I do have an official pick. 1 unit on the over 2.5 goals, minus 127, and like I say, I just think if you watch Atalanta play this season, most of their games are really open. I don't trust the Marseille defense. Simple as that. I mean, you watch that Benfica game away, it could have been 3 or 4 down in that, and I just think Atalanta are the better side. It kind of hurts me a little bit to say that, but they're underrated. That I think they're one of the. I mean, the way they play, it's almost like the 3rd or 4th best side in Italy at times. So they're capable of covering this goal line on their own. Marseille are going to have to go down swinging. I think they'll score. Aubameyang certainly got the message from the Sharps, didn't he, in the first leg? Let's hope he actually finds a bit more composure in the second leg here. But I think Atalanta will win this match something like 3-1. I'm happy to go over 2.5.
Steve, just tell me about the Gasset situation. Has he got this just to the end of the season, or is he the manager for an extended period of time? I don't know what the coaching situation is at Marseille.
This is Marseille.
So it doesn't matter anyway.
Do not trust anything. They could win this competition and they could sack him. They could.
It's just one of those things. Sometimes, there's some senior players at Marseille, and sometimes a little bit like with Chelsea a few years ago in the Champions League, and it's like, well, we will win this for us, regardless of the managerial situation. I just wondered if maybe there was a similar sort of situation. I'm just thinking. I've commentated on one Atalanta game all season, so I'm basing it solely on one game. They were awful against Cagliari, so I'm thinking Marseille at 4-1 might be a play, but it's
Gasset
small sample size.
I don't rate him that much. He had that one good spell. I don't think he's the manager that Marseille need. I know I've said this about every manager that Marseille have had. You've often asked me who is good enough. And I don't know if I can ever give you a proper answer for that on the correct way. Okay. But let's see.
Overs for Steve is the official play.
Yes.
Leverkusen Roma, also 3 p.m. Thursday. Leverkusen minus 200 here. Roma plus 500. Draw plus 320. Look, this is going to take an almighty performance from Roma to turn this one around. We have got some interesting picks from Will, which we'll get to shortly, but I just want overall thoughts from RJ and Steve on this one. RJ, any value in money line or overs unders? Anything that you can add here, and Steve as well. Before we get to Will's plays, which are prop bets. RJ.
Yeah, I think under 2.5 goals at plus 120 has some merit here. I say that because Bayern with the 2-0 cushion from the first leg. Roma's got to go for it, but Bayern just has to sort of protect their net, right? They will score? Probably, but I have the makings of just a Roma side that's just going to get frustrated. Bayern's just going to be too much for them to overcome, and I like under. This is a super risky lean or thought, in my opinion here. I don't expect it to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked. That's how I want to word this. A 0-0 tie on BetRivers is plus 1,200. Now, why I don't expect it to fully be a stalemate. For some reason, I think people expect goals. I think they expect Bayern to find one. Roma over team total over 0.5 is minus 172. So the bookies expect Roma to get on the board, but 0-0 draw plus 1,200, bit of a reach. Steve would call a hot dog. It's a big hot dog, but
it's a mammoth hot dog.
It's something that I don't know piques my interest.
Have Bayer Leverkusen been involved in a 0-0 draw all season? The answer is
yes. They have. Mushroom clan back.
Oh yes, that was the game after Klopp left, and there was a lot of focus on Xabi Alonso. I think is that the only game we played overs on Leverkusen all season. Steve, any thoughts on this one from you?
Plus 330 for the tie, RJ.
It's amazing how those things stick in your mind, isn't it?
They break the demons out of the closet every once in a while.
I remember every bet I'm on. Dan. I have a memory like an elephant. So, but yeah, tie plus 330, RJ. If you're interested in the tie, which does look maybe it's got some legs. I mean, I remember you took the under in the second leg of Leverkusen against West Ham, and it was a good call. They just shut the game down. They knew they were ahead, and they knew what they had to do. And maybe the same might happen here. I think it's a little bit of a shame at Leverkusen at minus 200. If they were closer to, well, even money, you're never going to get that, are you? But I might have nibbled because then Roma have just got to chase the game and the opportunities would come the way of Leverkusen. But I thought I won't get involved in this game. I didn't watch a single minute of this live last week. So I thought we can, I knew there was others on the panel who might have a better edge than me here. But a gun to my head, I will predict a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Will, give us your general thoughts on the game and then give us your plays, because you've got a shot on target play and you've also got an anytime goal scorer play. But general thoughts on the match, first of all.
Yeah, like Steve says, it's a bit of a shame that it's that Leverkusen are so short and that it's definitely not a dead rubber, but they could approach this like they approached the West Ham game and look to just shut it down. And that's kind of was my line of thinking until really this weekend when they had nothing to play for against Eintracht Frankfurt. They completely rotated their starting 11, which shows me that, Alonso is still giving this tie the respect it deserves. They've got nothing to play for in Bundesliga other than the undefeated record. And They beat them 5-1, I think it was. They completely hammered them, and that's turned me back to believing that, Alonso is going to look to keep his foot on the gas here. And given the fact that Roma have to go for it, assuming they still believe, it could be more open than we're imagining, and that's kind of the line of my prop bets.
Which are
So my anytime goal scorer is Florian Wirtz plus 205, the superstar of this Leverkusen team, and undoubtedly is going to be courted by all sorts of big clubs across Europe over the summer. Probably going to go to City, which would be a bit of a shame. But first leg, 19 shots from Leverkusen. They had 11 shots on target in the home leg versus West Ham, albeit that was the first leg, so a kind of very different dynamic there. But Florian Wirtz is plus 205. He's got 18 goals all season. He started that first leg in a false nine position, which really confused De Rossi, actually, tactically. And I think Alonso will go there again. He's got 5 goals in the Europa League this season. That's from 7 matches. And I'm not sure why he's a much bigger price than the other potential strikers that could start in that 9. Boniface plus 125, Patrick Schick plus 138, Iglesias plus 160, and then Wirtz is plus 205. That's way too big a discrepancy. I'd have Wirtz much closer to the likes of Schick and Iglesias at plus 130, plus 140, let's say. So that's my first pick. And my second pick is going into the shot on target market, over 0.5 shots on target for Amin Adli, minus 108. I also think he'll start here. I think Alonso will set up similar to the way he set up in the first leg, albeit at home. There's an argument he could perhaps start Boniface and be a bit more aggressive. But I think Adli gives them that control that they'll be looking for. He averages 1.22 shots on target per 90 in the Bundesliga this season. He's had 8 shots on target in the Europa League. And he's also averaged over 1 shot on target per 90 in the Bundesliga in the last 2 seasons when Leverkusen haven't been so dominant. So it seems overpriced. He is a bit more of a creator than he is a scorer and a shooter. But given the underlying data, he actually does have more shots on target than perhaps you would imagine. There is a chance that Boniface starts instead of Amin Adli here, and he starts in the 9, which would relegate to Wirtz in one of the wing attack positions. But our stake gets refunded, I believe, if that's the case. So yeah, Amin Adli, minus 108 to have over 0.5 shots on target.
Good stuff. I should have asked who goes through for the previous game, so I'll do it now for both. Steve, name the finalists then for us for the Europa League this year.
I think the finals, Atalanta versus Bayer Leverkusen.
RJ?
Agreed.
And Will, I guess we've got to say Atalanta Marseille, haven't we? No point in discussing it because we've got that on the outrights. You wouldn't hedge at all. We've talked about hedges on the show. Will, would you not take anything at the moment with Atalanta? We talked about Roma, didn't we, last week? But nothing to hedge from an Atalanta point of view with Marseille. Or do you think that the first leg result has justified you not getting involved with that one?
The only reason I hedged, had a unit on Roma was the price was just too big, I thought. Plus 275, I believe it was. And I've always been more confident in the market, in fact, that Atalanta will go through versus Marseille. Like Steve said, Marseille perhaps could have won the first leg, and I would have been nervous if that were the case, but not so much now. And to be honest, even if Marseille go through to the final, I think they get hammered in the final, most likely by Leverkusen. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're going to get one of these picks home as the eventual winner.
Let's get to Conference Corner. Europa Conference League semi-finals, futures like this, and obviously a big shake-up here, Steve, because Aston Villa were beaten by Olympiakos. Fiorentina are now the favourites, plus 135. Olympiakos plus 185 from 9-1. Villa out to 4-1. Club Brugge are plus 650, just slightly bigger than they were. Fiorentina beat Brugge 3-2 in the first leg. The Belgian side had a player sent off just past the hour. And of course, Olympiakos with that win at Villa Park that I tried to persuade everybody on the panel to take, but nobody was listening to me. It happens to me all the time. Steve, did we overlook the fact that Olympiakos are going to play the final potentially if they get through in Athens, just across from Piraeus? What do you make of the futures and those first leg scores?
I think now the outright market, you could almost make a case for backing anyone. If there's reasoning, isn't there, for all four in a way. And I did say last week that Villa haven't actually really played that well in the Conference League this season. I certainly didn't expect them to be conceding 4 goals to Olympiakos, though. That was a big shock. And I kind of looked at it with a pang of regret, because if my outright pick was Fenerbahce, that could have been Fenerbahce if they'd won that penalty shootout. I think they're just as good as Olympiakos. So I was a little bit disappointed. But then again, Olympiakos, I do have a soft spot for them after their turnaround in the previous round. So fair play to them.
You really do remember every single bet you had.
I do. And I tell you what, talking of bets, last week, obviously, another unlucky one for me. Club Brugge going down 10 men. They were well in the game. The hour mark, we're talking about that game soon. And then, red card completely changes the perspective of things. So I've done well in this competition this year, but Lady Luck has deserted me in the last couple of match days.
Yeah, look, it is a profitable show for us at the moment, and will be, I think, whatever happens, courtesy of Will's outright picks on the Europa League. Will, thoughts on futures as it stands? Big shake-up with Villa failing against Olympiakos?
Yeah, well, we do have a unit on Villa, so it was very disappointing that first leg. Shout out to you, Dan. You did, not with much conviction, call it, but you did call it. There is a reason we don't allow you any picks on this show, despite the comments. But yeah, shout out to you for that one. Emi Martinez, eh? Emi Martinez.
Told you.
That
he's
downgrade.
He's a massive. I mean, we'll get to the game in a sec. I don't even know if he's going to play. I didn't realize that a hamstring. I knew he was, because he didn't play at the weekend, did he, for Villa?
Didn't play at the weekend.
Although Robin Olsen, to be fair, played really well against Brighton. Saved a penalty.
Yeah.
What you want? Told you it was a downgrade.
I would imagine he'll be back, but you never know with hamstrings, do you? But yeah, in regards to the outrights, yeah, Steve got unlucky, didn't he, with Club Brugge? We'll come on to that match, but I think that Club Brugge team are pretty good. It's pretty open, isn't it? It's pretty open. I don't see Villa coming back, but and maybe they're artificially short in the outright. They're basically the same price that we backed them at a couple of rounds ago, but they're down 2-0 from the 4-2 or 2 goals from the home leg. So yeah, I think there's a much bigger ask for them to win it now than it was when we backed them. So I certainly wouldn't be touching the plus 400, but yeah, it's very open, isn't it?
RJ, briefly on the futures, anything catch your eye?
Yeah, I mean, I do, as we'll get to in the Olympiakos match, I think Olympiakos are obviously with the 2-goal cushion likely to advance plus 185. As Steve said, you could argue either side, right? These second legs are up for the taking. Club Brugge at plus 650 is intriguing, depending on how they show up at home. Could be an interesting price if they were to make it to the final, because they do have a pretty solid squad with strong depth and bit of experience here. So that is interesting. A plus 650 Club Brugge.
Yeah, I'm throwing a real low curve to Will here. Sorry about this, Will. How would you price an Olympiakos Club Brugge final? Have I thrown that one on? What ratings wise? What are we saying there? Are they similar-ish or not? Or would you have Brugge as favourites?
I did preempt your question. I was just opening up my rating. I nailed my colours to the mast in the Champions League show, saying Bayern would go off significant favourites against PSG, and obviously, I think it's obvious to pretty much anyone that Real Madrid would. Club Brugge would be favourites against Olympiakos in a final, yeah.
Interesting. Look, it probably won't happen according to the market. It won't, but I just thought it was an interesting one. Right, let's quickly get some picks on the 2 semi-final second legs. This is a really good bet from RJ, I think. Olympiakos Villa. RJ's got a pick in it. We'll get very quick thoughts from Steve and Will as well. Olympiakos plus 275. Villa are minus money favourites away from home. They lost at Brighton, looked a bit leggy. As far as I can see, Olympiakos had the weekend off. RJ, what's the pick here?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, they did have the weekend off. Aston Villa lost 1-0 against Brighton over the weekend. So another defeat for them. And I think there's real concern here for Aston Villa coming off 2 losses. Brighton hadn't won since March 14th against Roma in the Europa League prior to their victory against Aston Villa over the weekend. Olympiakos head home with their 4-2 victory from the first leg. They've been very strong offensively. Ayoub El-Kabi's hat trick in the first leg just showed how significant he is for this team. They also have Youssef El Arabi, Kostas Fortounis, both pivotal midfielders for this team. So they generally have a good attacking style, dominate possession. They use the full side of the pitch. They use the full length of the pitch. And I think the first leg, outside of you, Dan, kudos to you, might have saw this as unexpected. I think you had it pegged. But honestly, I was considering money line for this at plus 280, plus 275. I went the safe route here. I think Olympiakos draw no bet plus 180. I've been really focused myself personally as a tipster on trying to find value opportunities. And when this line was released shortly after that first leg, it popped up on my radar. I've used filters and it popped up. And looking at the odds movement here, depending on what book you look at, Bet365 opened at 5 even for Olympiakos on the money line. It's drifted already to 3.5 in the last 3 to 4 days. So the money's coming in. The line is drifting down closer and closer to even. I don't think it will get there. But it just shows that the value that you can obtain, especially now prior to this match. I think it will drift closer towards kickoff. So it's something to keep in mind. But I have a hard time not seeing this side at least come out with a draw here, which would get us our money back. I think they are, at this current time, a very, very strong opponent for Villa. And they're struggling. They're reeling here. And I don't agree with the odds makers minus 105. I would definitely be targeting Olympiakos with some value, and for them to at least come across with the draw or better in this match.
Yeah, plus 180 drawn up at Olympiakos. Really like that one. Will, this is an old-fashioned UEFA Cup tie of years ago, and Villa are travelling to Olympiakos, and everyone wants to oppose Villa here, don't they? At odds on at minus money. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, market's given them a lot of credit for the must-win. The must-win factor, and given that the margin is currently 2 goals, Olympiakos can afford to lose by 1, of course, and the market is really factoring that in. Is it justified? Probably not. Like, Villa do look very tired. It's a problem. Like, they got absolutely dominated by Brighton. It was ridiculous. Emi Martinez still a doubt. Backing Villa at odds on here away from home is not particularly appetizing.
Steve, any angles in before we move on to Brugge Fiorentina?
I just want to mention about the goalkeeper, and a lot of people were blaming Robin Olsen on the result last week, and then obviously he was brilliant against Brighton. But I tell you what, I think, and I've noticed this with teams before, Martinez's play on the ball is so important for Villa. I think the Sky team over here did a Monday Night Football piece on him about he has like the most touches or something of a goalkeeper of any side in the Premier League in a certain capacity. Olsen just can't do that. Simple as that. He'll have his good shot shopping days. I think it destabilizes the defense, but it looks like Martinez will be back for this one. I ain't got a clue. I'm trying to make my mind up on this game, and it could go either direction. It really could. Bear in mind, Olympiakos lost 4-1 at home to Maccabi Haifa. Fenerbahce metrically completely outgained them at home despite losing. So I don't know. I hope they get a result here for RJ's pick. Wouldn't surprise me because Villa, when the chips are down against them, they sometimes panic, don't they? And they leave themselves exposed, and they're there for the taking. So it's not often I'm on the fence, Dan, is it? But I really am here.
We've got one official play, and RJ likes Olympiakos drawn up at plus 180. We've got picks from Steve and from Will in our final preview here. This is Club Brugge against Fiorentina. 12:45 Eastern, slightly earlier kickoff here. The Belgian side plus 160, slight favourites. The Serie A side plus 170. Steve, what is your play for this one?
Official bet is over 2.5 goals at plus 100. Even money here. So, I mean, this match is on Wednesday, which I don't actually know why.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Was it? I thought it was on Thursday. Is it Wednesday?
it's Wednesday.
I don't know if it's switched or not, but I mean, at least we can watch this now, can't we? At a different time. UEFA's scheduling is ridiculous. It really should have staggered the start times in last Thursday. But I mean, from what I saw in that first leg, I think it should be quite open. It's I think before the red card, Club Brugge were well in that tie. And then Fiorentina, deservedly went on to win, didn't they? They might even regret they didn't win by more. But I think Fiorentina's tactical setup didn't match very well for Club Brugge from a defensive point of view. They gave Club Brugge a few problems. And Nicky Hayen, that was his first real test tactically, and I don't think he really coped with it that well. The guys cutting inside for Fiorentina, that was a big concern for Club Brugge. But one thing Club Brugge definitely did, they caused a lot of problems on that counter-attack with their transitions on the wing. They've got proven scorers. Thiago, Brentford bound. He looks a good signing for them. I think Tony will move on. Tony's going to move on, and I think Thiago can come in and do a job. I really do. I think he's a good player, and he scored in the first leg. I just think both teams have got plenty of weapons. And the good thing about this, because it's not obviously a draw, at some stage in this game, someone's really going to have to go for it. And I hate the idea of a 1-0. That's always a danger here. You get 1-0 Club Brugge and you go to extra time. But as soon as Fiorentina score a goal, I think this match could really open up. And I don't see them not scoring here from what I saw. I think there's going to cause too many problems to Club Brugge. I was really surprised that the goal line is plus 100 for over 2.5. I expected an over 2.75 goal line, to be honest with you, Dan. So I don't know why it's so low. So it stuck out like a sore thumb to me. And I mean, in terms of the match result, I mean, I think Club Brugge showed enough in that first leg with when it was 11 versus 11 that it can more than give a good account of themselves here. But I do like the goals. Let's say 2-1 to Club Brugge in 90 minutes.
No one's taking my hint with Brugge. I put the Forvo pronunciation on the YouTube channel a few weeks ago. No one cares. Will, what's your bet?
I keep trying to remember to say Brugge, but it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it, Brugge?
What do you like in this one?
I think the explanation as to why the goal line is over under 2.5 is because the odds makers are just hanging 2.5s, as they have done pretty much all season in this competition, and we've taken advantage. So, yeah, that looks to be a pretty good bet to me as well. But I'm going onto the Asian handicap line, the main line, draw no bets, so plus 0.00. And I'm backing Club Brugge minus 118. I just think it's a bit too big. I think the handicap here should be minus a quarter, and that's even before you build in anything for the must-win factor and the fact that a draw would take Fiorentina through. I think they're underrated, Club Brugge here. I think it was a very strange team selection by Nicky Hayen in the first leg. He left out Vitesse, which is bizarre. He should be back here, not least because Onyedika's suspended for getting sent off. Crazy challenge on a yellow card there to get sent off, by the way. I don't know what he was thinking.
He didn't realise he was on a yellow, did he? Onyedika, I don't think anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a strange one. He didn't realise he already had a yellow, I think.
Wow, didn't know that.
Wasn't it? Was it an
He was given the yellow 3 minutes before.
Was it an English referee?
So how can you just forget about, I don't know, heat of the battle? You know?
Sorry, Will, continue.
He forgot he was on a yellow. Okay, that explains the challenge. But they should be getting Skov Olsen and Mignolet back. Mignolet has been on the bench now for a few games, including the first leg here. Skov Olsen is an important player for them.
Yeah, good player.
He came back at the weekend. I think it might be a bit early for him to start, but you never know. I just Fiorentina are not that good. They get backed week in, week out in Asia. There's something about them that the underlying data shows is very positive, but I just don't think this Club Brugge team should be drawn no bet at home to Fiorentina. They've gotten results at home in Champions League against better teams than Fiorentina, and I think they can get one here. So yeah, I'm happy to back them. Draw no bet. I was expecting minus a quarter.
Okay, very quickly from all of you, RJ, name the finalists then for the Conference League. Who's going to go through?
Olympiakos, Club Brugge.
Will?
Olympiakos, Club Brugge.
Steve?
The more I think about it, I think Olympiakos are going to win this whole thing, actually. So Olympiakos in the final. And I tell you how it's going to go. Fiorentina make the final and they will look back on it and think, bloody hell, they got lucky.
It'd be interesting. Some good games coming up. One on Wednesday. Let's not forget as well. That's Club Brugge against Fiorentina. That wraps up Betting Weekly Extra Time, Europa League and Conference League edition. Many thanks to Steve, Will, and RJ. Stay up to date with all of the content from the Betting Weekly team on our YouTube channel. From all of us for now, though, it's goodbye.